The sharpness of the woman's voice reverberated through the boutique, drawing every eye in the store toward her as she pointed a finger at the teenage girl. "I'm telling you, she doesn't belong here," she hissed at the manager, her words dripping with disdain. The customers froze, their gazes bouncing nervously between the woman and the girl, unsure of how to react. But the girl, Emma Reynolds, didn't flinch. She stood tall, her back straight, eyes fixed firmly on the woman who had just humiliated her in front of a crowd. Little did that woman know, the truth she was about to face would obliterate her smug confidence in an instant. Emma, a poised 16-year-old with a passion for fashion and an unshakable sense of self, walked into the boutique that afternoon, completely unaware of the storm brewing around her. She had come to find a dress for a special event. Her father, Nathan Reynolds, the successful entrepreneur behind several high-end stores across the city, having built his empire from the ground up. With Nathan away on business, Emma thought she would enjoy a peaceful shopping trip, one where she could enjoy the independence of picking out something for herself without his usual presence. But today, Emma would quickly learn, it wasn't just about finding a dress. Emma had admired the elegant designer pieces in the store for years, but today was the first time she was stepping inside the boutique alone. It was a milestone, a moment she'd been looking forward to, shopping for herself, without her father's influence. She walked through the aisles, browsing with a sense of pride and anticipation, her heart set on a beautiful gown for the upcoming charity gala her father was hosting. She was excited, thrilled even, to finally pick something that felt like her own. She found a stunning dress, its intricate design catching her eye immediately. But as she reached for it, she realized it wasn't her size. Her excitement was tempered by the small disappointment as she carefully put it back. That's when the other presence in the store caught her attention. Mrs. Evelyn Drake, a regular and self-assured customer, noticed Emma and immediately began to assess her with a judgmental gaze. To Evelyn, Emma's presence in the boutique was an affront. She muttered to herself, her words loud enough for others to hear, "I bet she's not even here to buy anything," her tone dripping with contempt. Emma, oblivious to the growing hostility, continued shopping. But Evelyn wasn't going to let this slide. To her, Emma didn't belong, and Evelyn was determined to make that clear. As Emma stepped into the fitting room to try on another dress, Evelyn's voice floated over from behind. "What's she doing here? They're letting anyone in these days." Evelyn followed Emma through the store, her sharp eyes tracking every movement, her judgment clouding her perception. Emma, however, remained focused on her goal, finding the perfect dress. Emma finally found another dress, perfect for the event her father was hosting. With a smile, she picked it up and headed for the fitting room, not realizing that this moment of joy was about to be ruined by someone else's prejudice. From across the room, Evelyn watched, her eyes narrowing. "What's she doing here?" she muttered loudly enough for those nearby to hear. "They really let anyone in these days." She followed Emma's every move, her suspicion growing, tainting her judgment. Evelyn was convinced Emma didn't belong there. When Emma stepped out of the fitting room, the dress fitting her perfectly, she admired herself in the mirror, imagining how she would look at the gala. But her peaceful moment was shattered when Evelyn approached with a forced smile. "That's a beautiful dress," Evelyn said with a sarcastic sweetness, her tone dripping with condescension. Emma, ever polite, responded, "Thank you. I think it's perfect for my dad's event." But Evelyn wasn't there to compliment her. "Are you sure you're in the right store?" she asked, her fake smile vanishing completely. Emma, confused, replied, "I'm exactly where I need to be." Unfazed, Evelyn shot back, "This store isn't exactly budget-friendly. Maybe you should try somewhere more affordable." The words stung, but Emma refused to be intimidated. Her resolve solidified as she looked Evelyn in the eye and said, "I'll let my purchases speak for themselves." The quiet tension in the store grew as whispers rippled through the crowd. Emma, trying to maintain her composure, noticed the manager watching the exchange from a distance. She turned to the manager, her voice steady despite the mounting pressure. "If you have an issue, maybe you should take it up with someone in charge." Evelyn, not satisfied with this, flagged down the store manager. "Excuse me," she said loudly. "I've been watching that girl, and I'm pretty sure she slipped something into her bag." The manager, now visibly uncomfortable, approached with caution. "What seems to be the issue, Mrs. Drake?" she asked. "The issue," Evelyn snapped, pointing at Emma, "is that she's been acting suspiciously. She's obviously not here to buy anything. You need to check her bag." Emma's heart sank as she processed the accusation, but she remained calm. "I haven't done anything wrong," Emma said firmly, her voice unwavering despite the humiliation she felt. Evelyn, unmoved by Emma's denial, pressed further. Of course you'd say that, she sneered. Why don't you just show us what's in your bag? Stunned, Emma responded with quiet dignity. I haven't done anything wrong, but if it'll stop this nonsense, go ahead. Without hesitation, she handed over her bag, her stomach twisting with the weight of the false accusation. The manager opened Emma's bag carefully, inspecting its contents before shaking her head. There's nothing here, she said, her tone apologetic. But Evelyn, unwilling to let the matter drop, demanded, check again. She must have hidden it somewhere else. Emma's patience was beginning to wear thin. I think we're done here, she said, reclaiming her bag and standing tall. Unless you have actual proof, I suggest you stop harassing me. Evelyn, unwilling to relent, turned the conversation to her own narrative. If you have nothing to hide, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, then why are you being so defensive? Emma, her hands trembling but her voice firm, responded, defensive? You accused me of stealing without a shred of evidence. That's not defensiveness. That's self-respect. The store manager, desperate to defuse the situation, suggested, perhaps we should all take a step back and calm down. But Evelyn wasn't finished. Pointing at Emma, she declared, girls like her don't belong in stores like this. They come in, make a scene, and leave with things they don't deserve. Emma's resolve solidified. You're not just wrong, she said, her voice cutting through the tension. You're showing everyone exactly who you are, and it's not a good look. The scene was escalating, and Evelyn's increasingly erratic behavior drew murmurs from the crowd. We don't need troublemakers like her ruining this place, she said loudly, turning to the manager. Just ask her to leave. But the manager, visibly uncomfortable, hesitated. I think it's best if you leave, she said softly, her eyes darting nervously between Emma and Evelyn. We don't want any more disruptions. Emma, shocked and disbelieving, looked at the manager. You're asking me to leave? She asked slowly, the disbelief evident in her voice. Evelyn, now emboldened by the manager's support, smirked. Exactly, she said. You're just proving my point. But Emma wouldn't back down. I'm not going anywhere, she said, her voice calm but resolute. At that moment, the door opened, and a sleek black SUV pulled up outside, its tinted windows gleaming under the sun. The engine roared, and a towering figure stepped out, her father's bodyguard, scanning the boutique like a hawk. The room immediately shifted. Moments later, Nathan Reynolds, Emma's father, stepped out of the vehicle, his presence undeniable. The manager's face flushed with nervousness as she hurried to greet him. Whispers filled the room, and Evelyn's smirk faltered. Mr. Reynolds, the manager said, her voice trembling. We weren't expecting you today. Nathan didn't need to say a word to assert his authority. His gaze scanned the room, taking in the scene and the customers who were now looking at him with a mixture of respect and relief. He strode toward Emma, his steps measured, his face calm but commanding. What's going on here? He asked, his voice steady and firm. Evelyn, clearly caught off guard, began to explain. But Nathan, unaffected by her accusations, turned to the manager. Is this true? He asked, his voice cold. The manager, shaking, explained that Evelyn had raised concerns, but Emma's bag had been checked and found empty. Exactly, Evelyn interrupted, but Nathan's gaze never wavered. People like her are good at hiding things. The words hung in the air, sharp and stinging, but Nathan's response was calm. People like her? He repeated, his voice cutting through the tension. You mean my daughter? The room fell into stunned silence.